Footage of a large, broad-shouldered figure moving through the trees was captured right up close. A massive predator swims just beneath the surface, dragging a bloated cow carcass through the water. And on Navajo land in Arizona, a strange figure was caught on camera. Locals say it matches stories that go back generations. Well, you wanted clear footage of a cryptid? Here it is. It's not often we get supposed Sasquatch footage this clear and up close. Usually these videos are shot from a distance and the creature is almost impossible to make out. I know I say this almost every time I show a Bigfoot video, but understand that I sift through a lot of garbage and I just don't bother putting most of these videos on lists like this because these videos aren't meant to put you to sleep. Although if you use them for that, I'm not offended. Close your eyes, go back to bed. Is this video genuine though? I mean, how can I say for sure? I do like it, I'll say that. There's more going on here than a monkey suit from Party City. This thing looks to have some bulk to it. There's color variation in the fur. If it is a hoax, I think it's pretty well done. Well, this is a freaky piece of footage. Not only is there a massive dead cow floating through the water, there's something under it. Gonna guess that something was involved in the death of the cow. I mean, good lord, look at the size of this thing. There's a full-on dinosaur swimming in this river. Of course, this is a croc or a gator. I couldn't actually find where this video was filmed, but the thing is an absolute beast. I know, very insightful of me. Take a look at this strange photo. Picture was snapped on Navajo land between cornfields and Greasewood, Arizona. It's been making the rounds on social media lately. According to the person who shared it, her aunt snapped the picture at the end of a small canyon after hearing weird noises while tending livestock on her property. There's not much more info about it, other than claims that the creature was seen again a few days later. The family chose not to go after it. They figured it was best to just leave it alone. Wise. Apparently stories about creatures like this have been told in the area for generations though. What do you think of this one? Only explanation that I have outside of this being a genuine Sasquatch, of course, is a black bear. There are black bears in Arizona. I'm not sure if they frequent this specific area. If anyone from Arizona can enlighten me in the comments, that would be great. A video from Buenos Aires this week has gotten people talking about possible demons or something strange. Very strange. This short blurry clip that's been getting shared around quite a bit on social media, at least on the forums I check out, shows what looks like a street or garden in Argentina. Here we can see some sort of bizarre dark figure crawling on all fours toward the camera while a few dogs walk around in the background. The creature seems to have very long spindly limbs, but it's hard to see clearly because it's dark and the video quality isn't really the best. Local news says this happened in the town of Saladillo, and people living there are reportedly scared of whatever it was. Some witnesses have called it demonic and say it has inhuman agility that lets it climb walls and jump between trees. A local firefighter who didn't want to give his name said that, quote, something was going on. Another witness added, he's something big. He doesn't walk on all fours, he walks backwards. He's disjointed, he comes apart, his head is upside down while his body moves in an impossible way. All of that said in Spanish. Of course, this series of photos were posted to Reddit a couple weeks back by SnakeTree1911, who wrote, I work as a land steward in the northeastern part of the US. Part of my job is reviewing images taken by our game cams. We recently pulled a cam from a fairly remote area, which hasn't been checked in a long time. These images caught my eye. None of the naturalists on our staff could ID this thing. I'm not sure if I believe in cryptids or whatever, but I don't know what this thing is. It's not a deer, it certainly isn't a bobcat, and if it's a black bear, it's the biggest one I've ever seen. I included a daytime photo so you can see that it's not just some weird shaped rock or whatever. I don't know, let me know what you think. And I will pose that same question to all you fine people watching. What do you think? Did a fisherman just capture footage of the real-life gill man? Apparently a guy was fishing near Barnegat Bay in eastern New Jersey when he saw something poke its head out of the water. He had no idea what he was looking at. The more he looked at it, the thing just kept rising and rising until the whole upper half of its body was out of the water, and it was clear that this was not your ordinary animal. I mean, yikes. how'd you like to be swimming in the water with this thing? I gotta say, this creature looks pretty convincing. Definitely gives me the ick, but there are a couple fun comments that I wanna mention as well. One person says, "This is BS. If anyone saw that, they'd run, not record for 3 minutes," which, you know, fair enough. I can see where they're coming from there, but someone else responded, "It's called a stare down. The person out of fear and the frog out of confusion. Hence the term scared stiff." Also a good point, but I really just love that they called this thing a frog. And also someone else commented, "This is what happens when people stop eating frog legs." People just love calling this guy a frog. I don't know what frogs you people are looking at, but anyway.
Number 6. Loveland Frog. In Ohio folklore, the Loveland Frog is a legendary humanoid frog described as standing roughly 4 feet tall, allegedly spotted in Loveland, Ohio. In 1972, the Loveland Frog legend gained renowned attention when a Loveland police officer reported to a colleague that he had seen an animal consistent with the description of the frogman. After a reported sighting in 2016, the second officer called a news station to report that he had shot and killed the same creature some weeks after the 1972 incident and had identified it as a large iguana that was missing its tail. Now, according to various legends, the creature was first sighted by a businessman or traveling salesman driving along an unnamed road late at night in 1955, with some versions of the story specifying the month of May. In one story, the driver was heading out of a Branch Hill neighborhood when he spotted 3 figures standing erect on their hind legs along the side of the road, each 3 to 4 feet in height, with leathery skin and frog faces. In other versions of the story, the creatures were spotted under or over a poorly lit bridge, and one held a wand over its head that fired a spray of sparks. Number 5. Batsquatch. The Batsquatch is a flying cryptid that was allegedly seen near Mount St. Helens in the 1980s. This creature is said to have yellow eyes, a dog-like muzzle, blue fur, sharp teeth, bird-like feet, and a leathery bat-like wings that span up to 50 feet. In addition, Batsquatch is said to be 9 feet tall and has the ability to affect car engines. In April 1994, Brian Canfield was driving in Washington's Pierce County when his truck suddenly died. He said a large creature landed in front of him that was human-like, 9 feet tall, with bat-like wings and a coat of blue fur. A possible second sighting was reported in 2009 near Mount Shasta in California. Several hikers witnessed a huge creature with leathery wings spanning 50 feet fly out of a crevice in the mountain. At first, an eyewitness described the creature as having a head similar to a pterodactyl. However, upon reconsideration, the witness claimed that it was more akin to a flying fox bat. Then, in June 2011, a man was in his yard walking his dog and said, "I saw something flying in the sky. It had bat wings, blue fur, and had a face similar to eyes growing red. It was about 9 feet tall at the least, and I watched it just fly away." Number 4. Jersey Devil. The Jersey Devil is a legendary creature said to inhabit the forests of the Pine Barrens in South Jersey. This creature is often described as a flying biped with hooves, but there are many variations. The common description is that of a bipedal kangaroo or wyvern-like creature with a horse or goat-like head, leathery bat-like wings, horns, small arms with clawed hands, legs with cloven hooves, and a forked or pointed tail. It has been reported to move quickly and is often described as emitting a high-pitched, blood-curdling scream. According to popular folklore, the Jersey Devil originated with a Pine Barrens resident named Jade Leeds, also known as Mother Leeds. The legend states that Mother Leeds had 12 children, and after discovering she was pregnant for the 13th time, she cursed the child in frustration, declaring that the child would be the devil. Born as a normal child, the 13th child transformed into the creature with hooves, a goat's head, bat wings, and a forked tail. Growling and screaming, the child beat everyone with its tail before flying up the chimney and heading into the pines. It was in some versions of the tale that Mother Leeds was supposedly a witch, and the child's father was the devil himself. Then one of the first reported Jersey Devil sightings was in 1812, when Joseph Bonaparte, Napoleon's older brother, claimed he saw the Jersey Devil while hunting near his Bordentown estate. Number 3. Mothman. In West Virginia folklore, the Mothman is a humanoid creature reportedly seen in the Point Pleasant area from November 5th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967. The first newspaper report was published on the Point Pleasant Register, dated November 16th, 1966, titled "Couple See Man-Sized Bird, Creature, Something." The national press soon picked up on the reports and helped spread the news story across the United States. On November 15th, 1996, 2 young couples from Point Pleasant, Dickie and Linda Maxwell, and Steve and Mary Mallet told police that they had seen a large white creature whose eyes glowed red standing at the side of the road near the TNT area, the site of the former World War II munitions plant. Linda Scarberry described it as a slender, muscular man, about 7 feet tall with white wings, and said that she was unable to discern its face due to the hypnotic effects of its eyes. Distressed, the witnesses drove away at a high speed and said that the creature flew after their car, making a screeching sound. It pursued them as far as Point Pleasant city limits, and during the next few days, other people reported similar sightings after local newspapers reported it. 2 volunteer firemen who saw it said it was a large bird with red eyes. Number 2. Skunk Ape. The skunk ape is a cryptid ape-like creature that inhabits forests and swamps in the southeastern United States. Perhaps most prominent in the state of Florida, the alleged creature is also commonly referred to as the Florida Bigfoot and is often compared to or called the cousin of Bigfoot, a prominent subject within North America popular culture. Now, the skunk ape is commonly described as a bipedal ape-like creature, approximately 5 to 7 feet tall and covered in malted reddish-brown hair. It is named for its foul odor, often described as being similar to a skunk. The skunk ape has been recorded as appearing in Florida, Georgia, and Alabama folklore since European settlers first occupied the region. In 1818, local newspapers reported a story that spoke of a man-sized monkey raiding food stores and stalking fishermen along the shore. And coming at number 1 is skinwalkers. In Navajo culture, a skinwalker is a type of harmful witch who has the ability to turn into, possess, or disguise themselves as an animal. According to some traditions, skinwalkers were once healers and medicine men who were corrupted by their own power and turned evil. By draping the hide of certain animals over themselves, the witch takes on the form and traits of the animal. Now, in doing so, the witch gains the animal's strength, speed, and endurance. They sometimes transform themselves into animals simply for the purpose of traversing great distances quickly. They may also transform in order to wreak havoc on others, as well as their identity will be hidden and they'll be able to escape quickly if necessary. Now, they curse people and cause great suffering and death, one Navajo writer explained. At night, their eyes grow red like hot coals. It is said that if you see the face of a skinwalker, they have to kill you. If you see one and know who it is, you will die. If you see them and you don't know them, they have to kill you to keep you from finding out who they are. Skinwalkers are also telepathically linked with each other, enhancing their coordination during hunts and fights, but allowing little or no privacy at any time. Now, they can also copy animal or human voices to lure victims to feed on. They generally copy the sound of a human that is in need of help, so make sure you don't get tricked.
This next clip was shared by Sunny Vader on YouTube. The footage was captured by campers in Clearwater County, Alberta. Last month, the uploader had been tearing down their camp when they spotted this large, dark figure lurking in the trees nearby. He managed to quietly capture the thing on camera before it made its way back into the woods. They probably thought it was a bear at first, but after zooming in on the thing with the camera, they probably immediately changed their mind. It seems to be standing upright. Not that bears can't do that, but they usually won't for very long. It looks to me like this is a massive, hairy ape man spying on a couple hikers in the woods. On March 21st, something strange was spotted floating low over the rooftops in Saladin, Iraq, and yes, there's video of it. So as you can see, this strange object has a very odd shape. It looks like you took a flying saucer and then made it vertical. It almost looks like Boba Fett's Slave One from Star Wars. It also looks like it has these long trailing tendrils like a jellyfish, not like any drone I've ever seen. The object drifted smoothly over the buildings and a local managed to capture it on camera. The clip quickly spread online, just another piece of video to add to the growing list of UFO sightings this year. People who saw it described it as otherworldly and eerily silent. Some think it might be high-tech military equipment, others think this may actually be proof of something not from this world. But what do you all think? Now, stepping away from frogmen, aliens, and Sasquatch for a moment, let's talk about some mysterious jellyfish that were spotted just a few months back. The video shows 2 types of jellyfish that no one's ever seen before. At least ones that haven't been documented by science. The footage comes from researchers at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. First up is this one here. A very bizarre looking creature. It's so hard to make sense of. It's just so different from anything we see day to day here on land. Almost looks like it belongs in space. As one of the researchers said while filming the thing though, "I've never seen one of those. Have you?" And then another researcher's like, "Nope." It also captured footage of this smaller jellyfish. NOAA scientists couldn't identify this one either. Both were found during a deep sea dive off the northeastern coast of the US near Newport, Rhode Island. We see so many supposed videos of Bigfoot, but barely ever any dogman videos. Well, that all changes today. This dashcam footage comes out of Bladensboro, North Carolina. A man drove up to his property late at night when he got the fright of his life. Some big, hairy creature had been lurking just outside his home, but his headlights hit it and the thing scuttled off into the trees. Not in the most graceful manner, I must add. This dogman is rather, dainty in its movements, does this kind of like toddler hop as it moves away. It can't be too hard on Dogman though, he's not as used to being in the spotlight, always being outshined by the ever so famous Sasquatch.
Starting us off at number 10, the Kraken. The subject of many a superstitious sailor, this creature originated from Scandinavian folklore and is depicted as an aggressive, cephalopod-like creature capable of destroying entire ships and dragging sailors to their doom. Legends say that the creature could even devour a whole ship and its crew in entirety, and if that didn't work, it would swim around the ship in circles to create a whirlpool, sucking the ship down into the deep, dark depths of the sea. Though it seems like a death sentence, many sailors would take the risk and approach the beast, as it said huge schools of fish would surround the creature, and I guess they wanted to take their chances. And now, one Reddit user, Brave and Butter, believes they saw one on Google Maps. Their post says, quote, "I'm sure I'm not the first to find this, but it seems to be some sort of kraken. The spot in question is near a place called Deception Island in the Antarctic region, and they theorize that the dark spot on the bottom left is actually the giant squid-like creature from a sailor's nightmare." I mean, to be fair, we do know of actual giant cephalopods that have been caught, though not the size told in tales of the Kraken, but still, there could be some truth here. What do you think? Next up at number 9, Kentucky Beast. Off Highway 119 in Bell County, Kentucky, a few friends posted online saying they saw an inhuman creature right where, quote, "the Christmas store used to sit on 119 outside of Callaway on the right side of the road in the field with all the white cows," which sounds like a very specific location. According to the Google Maps details, the cryptid was some kind of large gray creature with the head of a man and unusually sized paws that left huge prints in the area. So yeah, not something you plan to see on the highway. According to the description, some people think they could have seen some kind of dogman, but honestly, who knows? From the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like they stuck around long enough to get a good look at this mysterious beast, and you know what? I don't blame them. Whatever it is, hopefully it comes in peace. Next up at number 8, Mothman. The legend of Mothman began in 1966 West Virginia after a group of grave diggers working late spotted an incredibly strange creature soaring over their heads, jumping from tree to tree. But it didn't stop there. Soon others were reporting a similar creature, described as measuring 7 feet tall, with beady red eyes and a wingspan of 10 feet, able to travel at incredibly fast speeds. Which, truthfully, kind of sounds like a demon if you ask me, but let's hope not. Now, there wasn't much evidence to back up this terrifying cryptid until one Reddit user posted it to a Mothman subreddit with a Google Maps image that appears to be the Mothman in plain sight in a forest. Many of the comments on this post claim how terrifying this is and how this proves once and for all that the cryptid is real, but I'll be honest, I might need a little more convincing. While this image certainly looks like a perfect match to the Mothman, I must admit it does kind of look like someone is wearing a suit But hey, maybe I am wrong, and maybe we should be very worried that someone finally captured evidence of this terrifying creature. Coming in at number 7, fairies. Now, some of you who aren't familiar with fae might be asking yourself at this point, what could these adorable little creatures be doing on a list for terrifying cryptids? Well, unlike what Disney would have you believe, fairies come in many different forms and can be very scary creatures, and messing with any kind of fae is definitely a very, very, very bad idea. Now, luckily for this next person, they don't seem to have angered whatever it is they saw, but I can only imagine how terrifying it would have been in the moment. Reportedly, a 15-year-old boy was out for a walk when he spotted 2 strange creatures fishing. The cryptids were very short, unlike the size of any human he had ever seen, dressed in all green, wore brown shoes, and were talking to each other in Gaelic before they noticed him and vanished almost immediately. After they disappeared, the boy got closer to the spot he saw them and found a small pipe left behind that, according to him, disappeared later that night after he had safely locked it away. According to him, no one in his family took it, and he knows the box was locked. So do you think the leprechauns could have returned for their pipe? Let's just hope they didn't leave any kind of evil curse on him if they did. Coming in at number 6, a mysterious creature. Posted online in June of 2022, this sighting was not just creepy and inexplicable to the general public, it even became a news story across the entire country. Apparently, this strange creature that is being called Wolfman was caught on camera walking around the Amarillo Zoo in Texas, and no one can figure out what the heck it is. According to city officials, it is real and not doctored footage, but that kind of just makes it even more concerning. It doesn't appear to be any kind of animal we're familiar with, and it is certainly not a human either. At least, no one thinks so at this point. This UAO, or unidentified Amarillo object, as it's being called, has people up in arms, with some saying it's a chupacabra, the absolutely horrific folklore creature that's said to live in the southern United States and attack and devour livestock. But that's not the only theory circulating the internet. There are conspiracy theories that it's an evil alien coming to Earth, that it's a skinwalker, or that it's even some kind of Sasquatch. But honestly, I just hope that whatever it is, it's not looking to hurt anyone.
This dude just happened to spot a prehistoric wolf in his yard. Yeah, once it runs up to the normal sized dog, we really get the full scope of this thing's size. The thing looks like a dire wolf. Now, this is actually a timber wolf, a huge timber wolf, but a timber wolf all the same. The video was shot in Saskatchewan, and the man who shot it said, "I work as a fishing guide in northern Saskatchewan, and I shot this video on one of our trails around the lodge. We get a lot of bears that come around the lodge, but this year we had a black wolf that started to come around for a few days. We spotted the wolf through the window of the kitchen in the lodge, and I made my way outside with the camera. When I started to take pictures, the wolf left, then returned a few minutes later, and that's when Trigger, his dog, took after the wolf. The wolf waited for Trigger to turn away from him, and that's when he grabbed the dog in the back and threw her up in the air right in front of me. Dan fired into the air, and that broke the fight up. The wolf turned and left. We followed the wolf into the bush and shot again to scare him off. The wolf came back 2 more times that day, looking for the dog, we think. Trigger had a few good wounds and cuts, but she's fine now. This next video is captured in Russia. Take a look at this. The footage is from a remote area in Russia, located between the Ural Mountains and the Volga River, close to the Kazakhstan border. So in the video, we've got a car driving down a dark road. The driver and passengers are chatting in Russian, and if you listen closely, you can clearly hear the word Yeti pop up a few times in their conversation. Now, at first, it sounds like they're just having a normal drive, but then we see what we see about 36 seconds into the clip. This blurry, shadowy figure dashes across the road right in front of the car's headlights. The moment it happens, the car immediately slams to a stop and the engine cuts out. Now, as far as what exactly is in the video, it's hard to say. The figure that dashes across the road is too blurry and fast to make out much detail, plus it's white, so it blends in pretty well with the snow. But from what we can see, it doesn't look like any normal animal or person. Next up, we have another strange video out of Florida. Take a look at this one. The video was shot in Edgewater, Florida. Joe Tiller and his wife April were out on the water near Menard May Park when they recorded a massive creature around 12 to 15 feet long. Now, at first Joe thought that it was just a big manatee, but something was off about it. He described it saying it had huge muscles like shoulders on a bull. It was as if it was rolling its shoulders like a bear underwater. He also pointed out that they didn't see any fur, head, or limbs though. Tiller, who's lived in the area for 5 years working on boats, said he's never seen anything like this. The creature was even grunting, which freaked him out enough to steer clear when it started heading toward a nearby channel. After sharing the video online, it quickly went viral, but no one can agree on what this thing is. Some think it could be a manatee struggling at low tide. Others have even said it could be a black bear crossing the river, but Tiller went on to say, "I can't find any video online that shows manatees to look like this with rolling shoulders." Wow, this is nightmare fuel. I hate how large whatever this thing is, the fact that it looks slightly human, the glowing eyes, all of it is just the last thing I'd ever want to see walking through the forest at night. Not sure where this one comes from originally. If anyone has any more info on it, let me know down in the comments. Alright, I'm gonna finish off with a fun one. In the Mount Rushmore of cryptids, the Loch Ness monster is right up there with Bigfoot and whoever else you'd want to put on the list. I imagine Mothman would be on there. Anyway, take a look at this. I can't tell you how much I want this to be real. I don't know where this footage comes from originally. All I know is that it looks pretty convincing, but obviously someone made this with some very skillful CGI or AI or whoever knows what eye these days. But I can say this, out of some of the crazier cryptids like the Loveland Frog and the Flatwoods Monster, the idea of a surviving plesiosaur lurking somewhere out there in the vastness of Earth's waters isn't all that hard to believe. I mean, not only did these things actually exist at one point in time, but there's a lot of unexplored water. Who knows what could be out there, really? I highly doubt there's a surviving dinosaur swimming around in Loch Ness, but in other parts of the world where there's more marine life to feast on, sure. Maybe.
Coming at number 10 is the Wendigo. A Wendigo originates from a folklore of Plains and Great Lakes natives as well as some First Nations. It's based in and around the East Coast forests of Canada, the Great Plains region of the United States, and the Great Lakes region of both the United States and Canada. Now, sometimes Wendigos are described as exceptionally thin, with the skull and skeleton pushing through its ash-colored mummy-like skin. Other stories describe the Wendigo as a well-fleshed giant who gets proportionately larger the more it eats. According to other legends, the Wendigo has a pointed or animal-like ears with antlers or horns sprouting on its head. A Wendigo's eyes have been described as sunken or glowing like hot coals. Sharp and pointy teeth, extremely bad breath, and bodily odor are often traits of a Wendigo. It is usually, but not always, endowed with powers such as superhuman strength and stamina that allows it to stalk, overpower, and devour its victims. Wendigos are usually credited with exceptional eyesight, hearing, and sense of smell. They're said to move with the speed of the wind and have the ability to walk across deep snow or even over open water without sinking. Now, it's said to invoke feelings of insatiable greed and hunger, and the desire to eat other humans, and propensity to end people's lives in those who fall under its influence. Number 9. El Chupacabra. The El Chupacabra is a legendary creature in the folklore of parts of the Americas. In 1975, a series of livestock killings in the small town of Mocha, Puerto Rico were attributed to the vampire of Mocha. Now, each of these animals were reported to have its body bled dry through a series of small circular incisions. A few months later, in August, an eyewitness reported seeing the creature in Puerto Rico, where as many as 150 farm animals and pets were reportedly killed. Now, physical descriptions of the creature vary. In Puerto Rico and in Latin America, it is generally described as a heavy creature, reptilian and alien-like, roughly the size of a small bear, and with a row of spines reaching from the neck to the base of the tail, while in southwestern United States it is depicted as more dog-like. Shortly after the first reported incident in Puerto Rico, other animal deaths were reported in other countries such as Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Peru, and the United States. Coming at number 8, we have Bigfoot. Bigfoot, also commonly referred to as Sasquatch, is an ape-like creature said to inhabit the forest of North America. North American settlers started reporting sightings during the late 1800s and into the 1900s, with the occasional finding of footprints, sporadic encounters, and even of grainy photos and videos adding to the mystery. Bigfoot is often described as a large, muscular, bipedal ape or human-like creature covered in black, dark brown, or dark reddish hair. Descriptions estimate the height of roughly 6 to 9 feet, with some depictions having the creature standing as tall as 10 to 15 feet. Some alleged observations describe Bigfoot as more human than ape, particularly in regards to the face. Common descriptions include broad shoulders, no visible neck, and long arms. Now, some alleged nighttime sightings have stated the creature's eyes glowed yellow or red. In 1971, multiple people in the Dalles, Oregon filed a police report describing an overgrown ape, and one of the men claimed to have sighted the creature in the scope of his rifle, but could not bring himself to shoot it because it looked more human than animal. Now, there have been hundreds, if not thousands, of Bigfoot sightings, and Bigfoot has come somewhat of a pop culture figure, as there are TV shows, movies, and fan clubs dedicated to him. Number 7. Lizard Man. In the folklore of Lee County, South Carolina, the Lizard Man of Scape or Swamp is an entity said to inhabit the swampland of the region. First mentioned in the late 1980s, the sightings and damage attributed to the creature yielded a significant amount of newspaper, radio, and television publicity. On July 14, 1988, the Lee County Sheriff's Office investigated a report of a car damaged overnight while parked at a home on the edge of Scape or Swamp. The car reportedly had tooth marks and scratches with hair and muddy footprints left behind. Sheriff Liston Truesdale noted that this was the start of various claims that eventually turned into a story about a lizard man in the swamp. Prompted by the news of the vehicle damage, local Christopher Davis reported to the sheriff that his car was damaged by a creature he described as green, wet-like, about 7 feet tall, and had 3 fingers, red eyes, skin like a lizard, and snake-like scales 2 weeks earlier. According to Christopher, he was driving home from working a night shift at a fast food restaurant when his car got a flat tire. After fixing it, he saw a creature walking towards him. He got in his car and began to drive, but the creature was soon on top of the car. He applied the brakes, causing the creature to roll off the car, giving him enough time to escape.
Coming in at number 5, Mayaka Skunk Ape. While Bigfoot tends to get all of the fame in the cryptid world, there are other similarly hairy creatures that could be roaming around the United States as we speak. According to one Google Maps location, there may have been a sighting of the skunk ape near the Mayaka River in Sarasota, Florida. According to details online, in October of 2000, a senior woman sent a letter to the local police station accompanied by some photos of what could only be described as a large ape. In her letter, she reportedly claimed that the skunk ape was 6 or 7 feet tall, but would crouch over, had an ungodly smell, and would sneak into her property to steal her apples. However, her true fear was that the cryptid could have some kind of disease that could spread to her family, as she routinely had her grandkids over to play in the backyard. Unfortunately, police were not able to deny or confirm the existence of the mysterious creature, but that hasn't stopped locals from trying to unravel the mystery to this day. Coming in at number 4, a giant fly. As far as terrifying creatures go, flies are not generally the first thing that comes to mind. That being said, this story might have changed my mind. One alleged witness contacted someone through the website the Cryptid Wiki, claiming they'd seen an insect that looked like a horsefly that was almost 2 feet from head to tail. They say they were in the garden in Serbia in 2015 when they heard a horrible loud buzzing and briefly saw a huge horsefly pass them in the middle of the night, which sounds like something from my nightmares. According to the witness, quote, "I saw it probably for 6 seconds after it flew past me, and it disappeared when it flew behind my garden fence. I checked and nothing was there. The bug was big and black and I couldn't see it very well, but it made a loud buzzing noise. The weather was cloudy and it was night. My mother and sister were there too, and they saw it and were shocked." Now, if what they saw was real, then it could be so dangerous. worse. I mean, the bite from a regular horsefly is bad enough. Imagine how bad it could be if the thing was 2 feet long. Coming in at number 3, Bigfoot. Out of any of the cryptids out there, I would venture to say that the hairy Sasquatch is likely the one that most people claim to have witnessed. I mean, practically everyone and their neighbor claim to have seen the creature walking through the woods of North America. Dating back further than recorded history, this man-like ape has been a household legend with nearly 10,000 recorded sightings throughout the United States. And with just a quick search, you'll literally find hundreds of photos and articles aiming to prove Bigfoot's existence. Arguably, the most famous evidence we have is Roger Patterson and Bob Grimland's 1967 film, where the alleged creature is seen walking along the side of a creek in plain day, and though we still don't know if the authenticity of the photo stacks up, we've also never been truly able to debunk it entirely. Of the many stories of alleged sightings, including some saying they were captured and held captive by the creature, and others claiming to have spotted the Sasquatch roaming about the woods, one of the only sightings you can find on Google Maps is located in Seven Chutes, Canada, where a photo of a large, broad-shouldered humanoid creature covered in hair shocked everyone who stumbled upon it. However, considering these things roam around the woods, I highly doubt it's still in the same spot as it was captured on Google. Coming in at number 2, Lake Monster. If you grew up in the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia, then you are no stranger to this mythological sea creature. But could it be that there is more to Ogopogo than we thought? The tale of the creature dates back thousands of years, with the Salish indigenous people having passed along stories about a spirit of the lake, which was later turned into what we now call Ogopogo after white settlers landed and began altering the stories. Described as a serpentine creature with smooth skin and a length of up to 50 feet, it's said to move at incredible speeds, using its powerful tail as a propeller to speed through the lake. The first alleged sighting dates back to 1872 by a woman named Susan Allison, who was the first white settler to live in the region, but she has not been the only one to come forward with so-called evidence. In the 1980s, a tourist agency offered a cash reward for anyone with proof of the beast, and many flocked with pictures and videos trying to claim the reward. Then later in 2008, a photographer by the name of Sean Valoria captured several photos of something peculiar he saw in the water, which he described as having humps measuring 18 to 20 feet long. After inspection by many local experts, they confirmed that it didn't look like any known animal to the lake, but there also wasn't enough evidence to confirm the existence of Ogopogo from Sean's photo. Since then, many mysterious sightings have popped up on Google Maps, so I guess people will just have to keep returning to the lake for more proof. And last up in our number 1 spot, the Ottawa Angel. This next one comes from a blog post, and I'm just gonna let this man tell you his story firsthand, cause man oh man, it is wild. Quote, I lived right beside the highway on ramp and was on my way rather quickly on that sunny yet windy fall day. As usual, I put some good music on and proceeded to enjoy the approximately 1 hour long scenic drive to Ottawa. I rather liked and traveled this route quite often. It was an uneventful trip which had passed rather quickly as I began to approach the Ottawa city limits at about 12:20 p.m. At this point, in broad daylight, without a cloud in the sky, I caught my eye up ahead in the distance on what at first came to mind as a very large seagull due to its white and gray appearance. But he soon realized it was something much stranger than a seagull. Quote, I then noticed what looked like outstretched arms connected to a human-looking torso with a head and what I call legs, but which in fact more closely resembled a long serpent-looking tail flowing behind this winged being at the time. I do realize how strange this may sound, but I assure you that it is unfortunately all too real. He did not appear friendly or welcoming, and I will never forget the last seconds that I could see him and his ominous glare. So what could this thing have been? Some kind of angel? Or some kind of demon perhaps? I guess we'll never know.
What would you do if you were out on the water and you saw this?
What the is that? Go, I don't know what that is, Dave.
This video was uploaded to the Residual Payments YouTube channel back in 2013, and what's freaky about this one is that you see all this movement on the water on the left side of the screen, and then boom, we get something breaching the water much further away. So was this a pair of creatures, or more horrifyingly, just one big animal. Another thing I love about the video is the audible sounds of fear and panic coming from the couple filming. They sound genuinely shocked and freaked out. The story behind this one is that a woman named Patricia and her fiance Dave had been fishing in Sanibel, Florida on October 6th, 2013, when they spotted something in the water. It was a serpentine creature, longer than their boat, about 20 feet or about 6 meters. They watched as the thing sped through the water before splashing up, looking like it had wrapped itself around something before descending back down into the water. The pair had also lived in Florida all their lives and had seen plenty of dolphins and manatees over the years, stressing that what they encountered here was not a manatee or a dolphin. Just what in the 7 levels of hell is this thing? Not a whole lot of information on this video. All we know is it was shot in Santa Fe, New Mexico back in the summer. Sightings of chupacabra-like creatures have been reported all over New Mexico, and by extension the rest of the southwestern United States, Mexico, and parts of South America. So could this thing be a goat-sucking monster or something else? Some say it looks like a skinwalker mid-transformation or just a very unhealthy looking person. Whatever it is though, if I lived in New Mexico, I'd probably be switching states. I just don't need something like that around me. What do you all think of this one? Genuine? Hoax? Share your thoughts down below. What you're looking at here is known as the Gable Film, a piece of footage supposedly capturing a dogman creature on camera. It's a pretty creepy piece of footage. That old film grain quality gives it this very visceral, uneasy feeling about it. There's a lot of mystery behind this one, but the film was supposedly shot in Michigan at some point in the 70s. A man is being filmed on a snowmobile when the camera cuts to a hill. Crouched atop it is a dark, hairy-looking figure which begins bounding towards the camera, and then this happens. The legend of the Dogman dates all the way back to 1887 when a group of lumberjacks in Wexford County reported seeing this huge, hairy creature with the body of a man and the head of a dog. They described it standing on 2 legs, like a person, but with glowing eyes, sharp teeth, and claws. Since then, sightings have popped up all over Michigan, especially in the northern parts of the state. People claim they've spotted this eerie creature prowling the woods, particularly in areas like the Manistee National Forest. It's said to be about 7 feet tall, covered in fur, with the body of a human, but the face of a snarling dog. This footage here was supposedly taken at the Roswell crash site. Again, we have a nice, creepy, grainy piece of footage here. Now, if this footage is indeed real, it would have been kept under wraps for a very long time. There was a ton of secrecy surrounding Roswell, but is it possible this footage came from a whistleblower? I definitely love to believe it, but I have my doubts. I've always been fascinated by the Roswell case itself though. We all know the story. In 1947, a mysterious object crashed near Roswell, New Mexico. It was described as a flying disc, but then almost overnight the story changed and authorities said it wasn't a flying saucer and that it was a weather balloon. But in the decades since, whistleblowers have come forward saying they know the real story, saying they saw alien bodies being recovered from the crash site, alien bodies that have been described pretty much exactly like the ones seen in this clip. Now, what exactly are these things? Walking pairs of pants? Well, they've been dubbed the Fresno Nightcrawlers, and they've been captured on camera more than once. The clip here was taken in Yosemite National Park. This next video was actually the first time the creatures were ever caught on camera. Take a look at this. It all started with a man named Jose in Fresno, California. He had a security camera set up outside his house, mostly to keep an eye on his lawn. One night, he was woken up by his dogs barking. He checked the camera footage, and that's when he saw this strange, white, almost ghostly figure walking across his lawn. It was tall, thin, and had long, spindly legs that seemed to glide over the grass. Jose was freaked out and woke up his brother to show him the footage. His brother even said he found small, weird footprints outside, but by the time investigators showed up to check it out, all the evidence had been washed away. Now, the footage that initially blew up online has kind of disappeared. The only remaining video is this grainy clip taken from a monitor. There was another sighting in 2020 in Billings, Montana on a home surveillance system, which also caught footage of these mysterious night crawlers. This one's a lot harder to see, but pay close attention to the dark, right-hand corner of the screen. So what are these things? They don't really resemble any known animal, and they definitely don't fit your typical cryptid profile like Bigfoot or Mothman. Some people think they could be extraterrestrial beings or interdimensional creatures, or maybe more ghostly apparitions. But skeptics also say they could just be the result of weird camera glitches or that low quality playing tricks on our eyes. These images may not look like much at first glance, but let's dig into the backstory here. So in November of 2005, a hiker named Randy Chase was near the top of Silver Star Mountain in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest, and something unusual caught his eye across a snowy ridge. He lifted his camera and took a few pictures of what looked like this dark, upright figure moving down the hill. After that first shot, the subject stood up or shifted. Chase snapped 2 more photos as it walked away into the snow-covered terrain. A week after these pictures were taken, Chase was interviewed by John Callender from the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, or BFRO. Callender described Chase as honest and familiar with the outdoors and said the photos didn't look staged or hoax. Chase never claimed he knew exactly what he saw, just that it didn't look like another hiker or snowshoer. And the BFRO noted that the silhouette didn't have clear clothing lines or, a pack that you'd expect to see on someone up there in the deep snow. But what really makes these images impressive is that whatever this figure is, it's big, really big. Check this out. Another thing they did was scale tests. So they tried comparing the figure in the photo to what a normal human would look like in the same spot, taking into account the slope and distance, and look how much larger the figure in the original photos is compared to what an average-sized hiker looks like. Even the folks from the show Finding Bigfoot came back with Chase a few times to the same ridge, checking the angles and taking measurements. It'd be easy to assume a video like this is AI, but this footage was captured in 2009. I couldn't find a whole lot of information on this footage, but apparently it was captured in Smuggler's Notch, a mountain pass in Vermont. It's gotta be one of the strangest looking cryptid videos I've ever seen. It almost looks like it has the hind legs of a horse and like the torso and head of a wolf. Is this some really well done VFX, someone in a very convincing suit, or genuine footage of some unknown creature? Let us know what you think down below. This footage comes from cryptozoologist Paul Freeman, who's still considered one of the most respected names in the Bigfoot community. He shot this video in the Blue Mountains of Northeast Oregon in 1994, and it's often called one of the best Bigfoot videos ever captured. Freeman wasn't just known for video though. He also made plaster casts of tracks he claimed were from Bigfoot. Those casts got a lot of attention because they showed dermal ridges, which is something you'd see on a real foot. Anthropologist Jeff Meldrum from Idaho State University studied them and considered them some of the most credible evidence out there. As for this video, is it real or a hoax? People still debate it. Could go either way. But unlike so many distant or blurry sightings, we do get a glimpse of a face here. It's not perfect, but you can kind of get a sense of what the creature might look like, which is why it's so frequently cited in discussions about Bigfoot evidence. I'm sure most of you have seen this image before. It's probably the most famous photo of a supposed sea monster aside from Nessie. The picture was taken at Lake Champlain, a freshwater lake between New York and Vermont, known for a legendary creature called Champ, sometimes called Champy. The first recorded sightings go way back. People have been reporting strange things in the water for hundreds and hundreds of years, but the piece of evidence most people talk about is a photograph taken on July 5th, 1977, by a woman named Sandra Mancy. On a summer day, Sandra and her family were near the northern Vermont shore when her kids were wading in the shallow bay. About 150 feet out, she suddenly saw something rise up from the water. It had a long neck, a head, and a hump, all visible for several minutes before disappearing again. Sandra grabbed her Kodak camera and managed to snap a single shot before the thing disappeared back under the water. That image, now one of the most famous lake monster photos ever published, appears to show part of a creature with a dark head, a curved neck, and a back breaking the surface of the lake. Over the years, hundreds of people have claimed to see something unusual in Lake Champlain. Ripples, humps, and shapes moving just under the surface. But this photo is still seen as one of the best pieces of visual evidence that keeps believers coming back to the lake each summer. This is a rather famous photograph in cryptid circles, said to be a massive creature shot dead and put up on display at a museum in Arizona. Supposedly, it's a thunderbird. The thunderbird comes from Native American legends. It's usually described as a gigantic bird with wings that can stretch close to 20 feet across. According to the stories, When it beats those huge wings, it can actually create thunder and lightning storms. People in Arizona have claimed to see birds that size flying overhead, especially around the Grand Canyon, and some of those sightings have happened fairly recently. But one of the most well-known stories goes all the way back to the late 1800s. Two cowboys near Tombstone said they spotted a massive bird sitting on a rocky ledge out in the desert. They fired at it several times and eventually brought it down. Story goes, they hauled the creature back into town and put it on display in a local shop so that people could come and see it for themselves. But that's far from the only story. Over the years, plenty of people have claimed to see enormous birds flying over Arizona. Some say they looked like a giant condors with huge feathered wings. Others insist the shape looked more like something prehistoric, almost like a pterodactyl gliding through the sky. For years, the colossal squid has been one of the ocean's most mysterious giants. People have known the animal exists for a little bit now, but almost everything we know about it comes from pieces pulled out of fishing nets or from beaks found inside the stomachs of sperm whales. Nobody had actually seen one alive down in the deep ocean where it lives. That finally changed during a deep-sea expedition in March of 2025. Researchers exploring the South Atlantic Ocean near the South Sandwich Islands were sending a remotely operated submersible down in the darkness, about 600 meters or nearly 2,000 feet below. While the cameras were scanning the water, something floated into view. This pale, almost glass-like squid slowly moving through the black water. And when researchers later looked at the footage, they realized what it actually was. The cameras had just captured the first confirmed video of a living colossal squid in its natural habitat. The squid in the video was still young, only about 30 centimeters long, roughly a foot, which is tiny compared to what the species can eventually become. Fully grown colossal squids can reach around 7 meters or about 23 feet long and weigh over 1,000 pounds. Even at that small size, the animal already had some of the characteristics that make the species so unique. Colossal squids have rotating hooks on their arms and tentacles, which they use to grab their prey. Unlike most squid that rely mainly on suction cups, these hooks act almost like grappling hooks. What the heck is this thing? This weird video was originally posted on LiveLeak by a user named Eknif. Apparently the footage was captured by Thai fishermen. I have no idea what I'm looking at here, and neither did the fisherman. The shape of it though, with the long neck and the flippers, it almost looks like a baby plesiosaur, kind of like Nessie. But some commenters say it could be a turtle without its shell. Not sure about that though. I've looked up turtles without shells. They don't have this shape. This thing's body isn't round like a sea turtle's, but what do you all think? Couldn't do a video like this without at least one Sasquatch video. The footage comes from Ericus Maximus on YouTube, who was out ATV riding with his kid in Gum Hill, West Virginia, when they spotted this large hairy creature trudge across the river ahead of them. Check this out. The thing clearly wasn't moving like a bear. In the video description, he said that the footage was captured around 6:30 p.m. It was the second time he'd seen the creature, but the first time he managed to capture it on video. There have been stories about this 7-foot-tall hairy creature for over 100 years. Supposedly, it's quite reclusive and non-aggressive, but what do you think about this video? Genuine Bigfoot-like creature captured on camera, or is this one just a hoax? Share your thoughts down below. So this next guy spotted something perched on top of a dead tree in his backyard. He thought it was a cat at first, but when he looked harder at it, he realized it wasn't like any cat he'd ever seen before. So he pulled out his phone to get a closer look, and this is what he captured. Now, he says in the video it's a monkey, which is possible. I mean, I don't know, I'm not a monkey expert. There aren't many monkeys roaming around here in Canada, but this thing doesn't really look like a monkey to me. Looks kind of like a cat-goat hybrid, gargoyle type creature. One person in the comments said, bro, it's a cat skull emoji. Apparently, you just can't be Gen Z without peppering in a bro and or skull emoji. Alternatively, you can add a crying laughing emoji as well. In the summer of 2000, Jim Mills, a youth leader with a passion for the great outdoors, organized a trip to Marble Mountain for a group of young campers. But as they hiked deeper into the wilderness, surrounded by the trees and the sounds of nature, none of them could have predicted what they were about to see. During one of their hikes, as the group ascended a ridge, they noticed something in the distance. It was this large, dark figure stood on a ridge in the distance, seemingly watching them. The figure's size and posture immediately caught the attention of Mills, who quickly grabbed his video camera and started to film. The footage shows shows this tall creature walking upright along the ridge. There was an ease about its strides, as if it were perfectly familiar with the rough terrain, and judging by the footage and how far away the camera was, the creature looks to stand around 7 or 8 feet tall. Throughout the video, you hear Mills remarking on how long the thing's arms are, and whatever it was, it seemed agitated. You can't hear it very well on camera, but the group said it appeared to be yelling at them while aggressively waving its arms at times, as if to scare them away. Now, I want you to imagine, if you will, that you're out in the woods on a hike, alone. You spot what looks like something poking out behind a tree. It's dark, you can't really make it out. Is it part of the tree, you ask yourself? You're afraid to get any closer, unsure if it's a wild animal, but the longer you look, the clearer it becomes. It's not an animal. It's some sort of humanoid shape, but shadowy and perfectly silent, and it's staring at you. No more walks in the forest for me. This next video popped up on Reddit a few years ago. It was filmed in Louisiana. A few guys are recording some deer grazing in a field, but then out of the tree line comes this thing. At first glance, it almost looks like it's galloping, but it's definitely not a horse. Doesn't move like a human either, though. First of all, it's super fast, large, and its front limbs are insanely long. Whether this is something explainable or not, it is definitely a weird clip. This footage comes from Todd Standing, a guy who's pretty well known in the Bigfoot community for some of the more famous alleged sightings out there. According to him, this video shows his first close-up encounter with one of the creatures. After it walked away, Todd and some of his team went up the cliff to check out just how big it might have been, and from what they could tell, it looked like the thing could have been well over 8 feet tall. The footage got enough attention that it even showed up in an episode of Finding Bigfoot. On the show, they tried to recreate the scene by having one of the bigger guys on the team stand on that same ledge to see how he compared. The creature in Todd's video was noticeably taller and bulkier than the guy they used for comparison. And most of us have seen this footage, and for good reason. Unlike so many supposed Bigfoot videos, we get a good long look at this creature, much like the Patterson-Gimlin footage, and on top of that, this version of the creature looks a lot like the one in that infamous film from 1967. The footage was captured on Independence Day in 2013. What also stood out to people about this video is that the creature appears to be carrying an infant. Can't say I've ever seen that before. Doesn't mean it's not a hoax, but it does mean they put in some extra effort if it is. Some people think it's just a good quality suit. Some think it looks super legit, commenting on the creature's gait and how convincing the fur is. What you're looking at here is some of the most infamous sea creature footage ever filmed. Over in eastern Turkey, there's a massive body of water called Lake Van. It's the largest lake in the country, stretching about 75 miles across in some places and dropping more than 1,400 feet deep. For years, people living around the lake have talked about something big moving through the water. The Lake Van monster. The modern sightings really started piling up in 1995. People along the shoreline started reporting a huge creature swimming just under the surface. Witnesses described this long, dark body moving through the water with several humps rising behind it. Some estimated the creature could be 40 to 50 feet long, with a thick body and a head that occasionally lifted above the water before disappearing again. Then in 1997, a man named Unal Kozak captured this incredible footage on camera. Kozak, who was working at a nearby university at the time, filmed the thing gliding across the surface of the lake. The clip quickly spread, and suddenly people all over Turkey were talking about what might be living in the lake. The story's become such a big part of the area that the nearby city of Van even put up a statue of the creature along the lakeshore. For the people who live around Lake Van, this thing isn't some legend. It's something we've been talking about for decades. And plenty of them are convinced there's still something living out there in that water. What on God's green earth is this abomination? This next entry comes from a now deleted Reddit user who wrote, "So I've had this trail camera set up behind my cabin for about 7 months now. It's mainly there to see what animals come through the area. Usually it's the same stuff every week. Deer, raccoons, foxes, sometimes a black bear if I'm lucky. Nothing unusual. Last night though, the camera triggered at 3:17 a.m. and this image was the only thing it recorded. What's weird is that the camera normally takes a short burst of photos whenever motion triggers it. Usually I get 3 or 4 shots in a row of the animal walking through the frame, but this time there was just this single photo, and then nothing else before or after. But damn is that one photo terrifying. At first I thought maybe it was a coyote with mange, but the legs look way too long and the body shape looks all wrong. It looks more upright than a normal animal would. The eyes are also throwing me off. I know animals can have that reflective glow from infrared cameras, but these look really bright compared to the deer photos I normally get. For context, this is taken about 40 yards behind my cabin, right at the edge of the woods. Has anyone seen anything like this before? I'm genuinely curious what this could be. This video's been floating around the internet for a long time. I've never talked about it on the channel before though. So back in 2006, a strange video started circulating online that supposedly came from somewhere in the forests of Norway. The clip shows two guys driving late at night, joking around in their car while music plays on the radio. At some point, they leave the main highway and take a rough shortcut through a fenced-off forest road. They drive deeper and deeper into the woods until they eventually stop the car after noticing something strange out in the darkness. The guys step out of the car, looking toward the trees. The forest is completely dark, but you can hear odd noises coming from somewhere, like low grunts and squealing sounds, kind of like a pig. And as you see, suddenly something moves. Out of the darkness, a pale figure appears and charges toward them. As for what the creature is, it's hard to make out. The video quality isn't great, seeing as this is a 20-year-old video at this point. I can't believe 2006 is 20 years ago. Some say the thing looks like a strange humanoid shape with a wide open mouth and what looks like a hood, maybe a flap of skin hanging over its head. Something the head shape looks almost pig-like. This strange video comes from Richard Gremnick on YouTube. He'd spotted something in his backyard and pulled out his iPad to try and get some footage of it. Right from the jump, he's calling up his pastor named Mike to tell him what's going on.
People think I'm nuts. It's on video, it's playing right now. I put the iPad in the window and now this thing's coming up to the steps in my backyard, Mike.
Goes on to say that this was the second time in the week he'd seen the thing. It's this pale-looking creature, kind of like a rake or Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Richard describes it looking almost like a gargoyle, though.
Oh my God, like a gargoyle. It's like a gargoyle, man. And it's like 35 feet away, and it came out of those weeds. You know what I'm talking about?
The thing retreats back into the bush after a while, but before Richard has a chance to calm down and collect his thoughts, it creeps out again. At this point, his pastor is reciting a prayer.
Oh my God, there it is, Mike. It came back. Oh my gosh. This thing is looking weird. Oh my gosh.
Luckily, with the power of Mike the pastor, the creature slowly skulks back into the bush for a second time, just when the call disconnects. Now, I've seen some pretty convincing Sasquatch footage over the years, also some not so convincing stuff, but this video is either one of the most incredible pieces of Bigfoot evidence ever captured, or one of the best hoaxes. I'll let you decide, but I mean, look at this. It's not just some dark figure obscured by trees way off in the distance like so many other Sasquatch videos. A lot of people's first thought when they see supposed Bigfoot footage is, well, that's just a guy in a suit. In this case, it's more like, well, that's an actual ape in a tree. The way it moves, the length and shape of the arms, it looks like an actual animal, but apparently this was shot in the United States, so it doesn't really make sense for a gorilla to be chilling in a tree, now does it? Is it AI? Possibly. I know AI can be pretty convincing these days, but I don't see any obvious signs of it. There are no weird glitches, the video looks detailed and it's consistent, but as always, what are your thoughts? This next video clip comes from Moat Owens on TikTok, who captured something horrifying while riding through the woods. Now, what I like here is that Moat Owens doesn't post paranormal themed videos. He's into motorbiking and that's what his videos are about. He films plenty of rides, it's just here he happened to film something abnormal. The sun was starting to set as he made his way down the forest trail. Riding up to a fork in the road, he tries to decide what path to take before suddenly noticing how quiet and still it is. Moments before, there were crickets chirping, but out of nowhere, almost all the sound went dead.
It just got really quiet really fast.
And that's when he sees it. Creeping out of the brush is an oddly shaped, pale creature. As soon as he spots it, he revs up his bike and heads back the way he came. What exactly are we looking at in these images? Whatever this thing is, it's large and hairy, but it's clearly not a black bear. Doesn't look very Squatch-like either though. Instead, its head is kind of goat-shaped. That's why some believe this to be photographic evidence of a creature called the Maryland Goat Man. In Prince George's County, Maryland, especially the woods around Beltsville, people have described seeing this tall, upright creature with horns, hooves, and a full body covered in hair, part man, part goat. People have claimed to spot it standing in the road or just outside the trees. As for what it is and where it came from, there's a story. The most common version begins at the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center. Supposedly, a scientist was experimenting on goats, something went wrong, and he ended up turning into the creature himself. After that, the story says he disappeared into the surrounding woods and never left. Pretty ridiculous story, but is there some truth to the actual sightings? Is there some sort of goat-like creature roaming the woods? Who knows, but there are plenty of stories, and the goat man isn't just seen, he's also heard. People talk about strange calls at night, heavy footsteps in the trees. There are also stories about it going after cars, either chasing them or hitting them as they pass by. What you're looking at here is now infamous footage of a supposed male Sasquatch captured by a man named Todd Standing. Standing refers to this one as Jake. And this is a video of a female Squatch that he calls Jane. Todd Standing is one of the most talked about people when it comes to Bigfoot footage that shows, more than just a blurry shape. In the early 2010s, he started releasing these videos filmed in the wilderness of Alberta, showing Squatches up close. Not just something, running through the trees, but full faces sitting still looking at the camera. Say what you want about the authenticity, if this is a hoax, it's a pretty bold one. This footage really does stand out. The subjects in his clips don't move much, they stay in place, sometimes crouched, partially hidden by trees, watching. You can clearly see their facial features, the shape of the head and the eyes. You have plenty of time to study the video and come to your own conclusion. In 2017, Standing released a documentary called Discovering Bigfoot, where he explains how he got the footage. He says he spent years in remote areas learning how to move without being noticed, eventually getting close enough to film these encounters multiple times. According to him, these weren't one-off sightings. He had repeated interactions in the same areas, and even claimed to form a kind of bond with some of the creatures. He's also taken it further than just filming. In 2018, he filed a case involving the government of British Columbia, arguing that Sasquatch should be officially recognized and protected. The case didn't change anything legally, but it does show how serious he is about what he claims to have documented. The Appalachian Mountains, they have so many creepy legends and stories associated with them. Well, in this video, which was recorded somewhere in those mountains, a guy is sitting in his car in the middle of the night, but he's not alone. Something is lurking around his vehicle. You hear this low, animalistic grunting circling the car. It's right outside. And then we see it. Something pokes its head up and peeks into the window, which would have been rolled up immediately if I were in this situation, but I guess the guy just wanted some cool footage of what he thought was a mountain lion or something. The shape isn't totally clear, but it's close enough that you can tell it's not small. It lingers for a second, then pulls back out of sight. Before long, though, we get an even better look. The bright yellow eyes do scream mountain lion, but a lot of commenters have pointed out that the movement seems off, and you'd expect eye reflection at this angle, but I don't know. What do you think? Mountain lion or, I don't know, cat person? Share your thoughts in the comments. A hairless, pointy-eared creature galloping through the desert smells like a chupacabra to me. What you're looking at here is one of the most well-known pieces of cryptid footage tied to the chupa. The video was filmed on August 8th, 2008 by a police officer named Brandon Rydell in DeWitt County, Texas. He was on patrol when he spotted something strange running along the road. At first glance, it looks similar to a coyote, but there are details that stand out right away. The body appears mostly hairless. The ears are large and upright, and the snout looks longer and more narrow. That snout in particular is what's caused the most confusion, and the way it moves also feels slightly off. The forelegs are slightly shorter than the hind legs, which is often how the chupacabra is described. After the footage got out, people started linking it to the chupacabra legend, a creature often blamed for slaughtering livestock, draining them of their BLOD. This is one of the main videos people point to when that creature comes up, and for good reason. It's clear footage, you get a long look at the animal. Could it be a coyote with mange or something similar? Maybe, but the creature in this footage was never found, so it's hard to say for sure. On October 15th, 2022, Dale Hancher, his wife Colleen, and their friend Myrna Germaine Brown went sailing on Okanagan Lake in British Columbia, Canada. Colleen's mother had passed away the day before, so the three went out in the water to take their minds off things. According to the couple, they may have been the only boat on the lake that day. And the lake is massive. Its deepest point is 761 feet. In some areas it drops hundreds of feet, just a few feet from shore. While in the middle of the lake, they noticed two horns emerging from the water. First they assumed it was a log, maybe some seaweed, but as they got closer, it didn't really move much with the waves. It stayed perfectly still. Colleen leaned over the bow to take a photo from about 12 feet away and said she could see what looked like a body or neck beneath the dark water. The horns were several feet apart and stuck out 3 or 4 inches. Colleen believes they were actual horns or ears, and she noted they looked more like skin than wood. It looked like some sort of creature. Some skeptics claimed it was an upside-down duck, which I think is a bit of a stretch. Others said it could have been a dragon sculpture from a boat club nearby, but that club's boats don't have dragon heads like that. Some suggested a hoax, but given the timing with one of the witnesses having just lost her mother, that seems like an odd activity to get up to during the grieving process, but who can say for sure? But then there are those who aren't so skeptical, who believe this could be a genuine photo of Ogopogo, the legendary lake monster people have claimed to see for centuries, with stories going all the way back to First Nations folklore. This is some of the most infamous cryptid footage ever released. First appeared on an episode of Paranormal Borderland hosted by the one and only Jonathan Frakes. The story goes that in 1996, a young couple were hiking in the mountains of Nepal when they spotted a figure on a slope in the distance. The first thing they noticed was how large it was. They'd already been documenting their trek, so they pointed their camera at the person to get some footage. It was then that they noticed there's something strange about the mystery hiker, aside from how large they were. The figure didn't look human. It looked like some sort of massive, hairy creature making its way up the slope. And note the length of the arms, especially in this section of the footage. The footage was shown to a team of experts on the show, including a man named Jeff Meldrum, a primate anatomy expert from the University of Idaho, and he was genuinely stumped by the video at the time. This insane clip was posted to the TikTok Scary Videos 786, but it's actually a repost and no one really knows where the original came from. Whatever the case, it's a weird one. So the video starts with two guys holding up this big net. At first you're thinking, all right, what are they even trying to catch? And then out of nowhere, something comes up the stairs straight toward them. This hairy werewolf-looking thing that's kind of half man, half animal. Honestly, it's probably not real, but at the same time, you never really know. Strange stuff pops up all the time. If it was real though, I genuinely want to know what their next move was, because it's like, all right, you just caught the thing in a rather flimsy looking net. What's the next step? Well, nothing rains in the Christmas season like a visit from Sasquatch. Anyway, this video posted to the YouTube channel North by Wild West has racked up over 3 million views. His family in northern Minnesota were celebrating Christmas in 2014. As the uploader was panning across the room, getting footage of the lovely tree and the lights, she suddenly noticed something outside. Something big.
What was that?
Oh my god.
Do you see that? Something's behind the garage.
So she made her way outside to investigate. After scanning around the yard for a few moments, they noticed it again, off in the distance, just beyond the trees, a large, dark figure. They're not too sure what they spotted at this point. It could have just been a big person. When one of the dogs runs out, clearly having spotted the thing too, things get stranger.
Oh,
Here goes
oh no.
We're real scared of them.
It immediately runs back closer to the house before continuing to bark at whatever is skulking through the trees. Super curious, the camera woman decides to get closer to see if she can spot the thing again, as the dog Riff continues yapping at the trees. Eventually, she does spot it again. After that, everyone decided to make their way back inside. This next video comes out of a small village in the Philippines, where back in April of 2024, a trail camera had been set up facing a river. Why had the camera been placed there? Well, supposedly locals have been whispering about eerie sightings nearby at night. Some were saying that dark spirits were lurking in the water, and if this footage is believed to be real, it seems there was some truth to those stories. Because poking out of the water are these ghoulish creatures. It's hard to make out the faces, because they're mostly submerged in the water, but we do see glowing eyes and what looks like long matted hair. They're incredibly creepy. They look like a cross between the ghost girl from Ringu and the creatures from Chud. Now, the story goes a number of people had gone out late at night by the river and never made it home. Are there rational explanations for those disappearances? Definitely, but is there also a chance that whatever these things are and in the water have something to do with it? Possibly. I'll let you be the judge. This is some of the most infamous internet-era cryptid footage ever captured. 2007, a man named Jose in Fresno, California, set up a security camera outside his house because his dogs kept barking at night. They were clearly disturbed by something in the yard. Well, what he caught on that camera is what people now call the Fresno Nightcrawler footage. The clip's pretty short, but you can see everything clearly. It's this small white figure walking across the yard. It doesn't have visible arms. There's no clear upper body or body at all. It's just kind of just looks like two long legs moving with a slow, steady gait. Now, of course, Jose had no idea what he was looking at. He tried to rationalize it, but couldn't land on a satisfying explanation, so he brought the footage to a local news station. That's how the video got out, and from there, it spread online. The version most people have seen is a recording of the original footage playing on a screen, which is why it looks slightly washed out. Jose never got an answer though. Nobody had a rational explanation for the footage aside from it being a hoax. But then in 2011, another clip showed up from Yosemite National Park. Different place, same kind of figure, or in this case, figures. There were two of them this time. White, leg-like shape, moving in that same slow, deliberate walk. What would you do if you were driving down a desolate road late at night and came across this? I'm guessing we'd all do the same thing the driver did, throw the car in reverse and cancel whatever plans you had down that road. This video was posted to X a few weeks ago by God Knows DGJ1. It was captured somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, regardless of what's actually going on here, this is a pretty unsettling sight. What makes it especially creepy to me is the stillness. The buffalo almost completely still, and the kid is just sitting there staring. The only thing moving are his hands, doing this weird thing. It's very robotic. Now, the reason why this is on a list of cryptids, though, is because some wonder if this is actually footage of something called a tokoloshe, a mischievous evil spirit from southern African folklore. People usually describe it as a small, almost dwarf-like creature. It's often said to be sent by someone with bad intentions to cause trouble. That trouble can range from frightening children to causing illness, and in some stories, even death. Some legends describe how a tokoloshe is created with a jealous person going to a witch doctor who performs a ritual, sometimes involving a dead body, to shrink it and then send it after the target. Back in 2022, this security camera in Mexico captured something genuinely strange. The footage captures this strange floating shape drifting over some bushes before settling in someone's yard. Slowly, it drifts up a hill and onto the road, twisting and morphing as it moves, even taking on a form that almost looks human. You might think it's just a trick of the camera or a cheap edit, but the dogs in the yard, they saw it too, and they totally lose it, barking like crazy and then just standing there completely baffled. The clip went viral on Twitter, and no one's been able to figure out exactly what it is. Whatever it was, those dogs were definitely freaked out though. A few years ago, this eerie piece of home security camera footage made its way onto Reddit. A woman steps out of her house to grab something, but keep your eyes on the garbage bins. A ghostly shape moves past them and right into the back door. Take a look. I know that home security cams can be iffy at times, but this doesn't look like a camera issue to me. It also doesn't look like cigarette smoke drifting through the yard or anything like that. Whatever this shape is, it moves with purpose. Now, at first it appears as this vague floating form, but as it gets closer to the door, you can almost make out a human shape before it moves off camera, right into the home. What exactly is it? Something mundane, like a light reflection or a glitch, or was something paranormal caught on camera that night? This video got quite a bit of traction online when it was first posted. There were articles about it and everything. On a small island in Brazil called Ilha do Mel, these figures were spotted on a hilltop. Headlines described them as being 10-foot tall aliens. Eyewitness Sarah Delate says she was hiking with her family when they suddenly spotted them up on the hill. She explained that it wasn't possible to reach the hilltop where they stood. Now, according to Sarah, the figures moved incredibly fast and looked around 10 feet tall, definitely not your average hikers. A spokesperson of Piranha State joked, "Our summer is from another world. Even strange beings come here to enjoy our coastline." Some commenters think it's probably just a couple people who did manage to climb up there, but others think the figures look especially tall and lanky, slightly inhuman. What do you think of this video, though? Share your thoughts down below. Two hikers got more than they bargained for while exploring Long's Peak, one of Colorado's tallest mountains in the Rocky Mountain National Park. Jesse Clausen, 29, and Camille Avarella, 28, were descending the steep trail on August 24th when they unknowingly captured something strange in the background of a photo as a lanky gray figure clinging to the side of the rock face. Clausen described the moment they first noticed it weeks later. "I was shocked to the bone when we were looking at the picture. We didn't see anything. We didn't take the picture because we saw that thing, we just took it because the mountain range was pretty," she said. It set off at 2 a.m., determined to reach the 14,000-foot peak by dusk. Clausen said they were in full adrenaline mode and weren't really paying attention. It wasn't until they were at home sharing the photos on a big TV screen that they saw the odd figure. Camille's dad said, "What the hell? That thing is at least 20 foot or so." And Camille was like, "Should we call the Rangers?" We were all like, "What the hell is that?" Avarella added, "It could be a rock, but it has all the features of something that is human. The anatomy is so human-like, it's freaky as hell." That has to be the clearest piece of Bigfoot footage that I have ever seen. In May of 2025, a trail camera in Michigan caught something that's becoming one of the most talked about Bigfoot videos in years. The clip lasts just 10 seconds, but what it shows is unmistakable. This massive hairy creature standing in the middle of a dense forest, staring almost directly at the lens. And then, without any panic or sudden movement, it just slowly steps away. The camera belonged to someone who owned a remote property in rural Michigan. They'd been checking the cameras regularly, expecting deer, bears, the occasional coyote. Instead, they found this. The creature was enormous, covered in dark, shaggy fur with a muscular build. Its face is almost human-like, kind of looks like a creepier version of the Sasquatch from Harry and the Hendersons, which I believe is named Harry in that movie. Anyway, the property owner posted the video to Reddit, and the post went viral almost immediately. Thousands of people watched, commented, and debated. Was it a really convincing costume? A genuine Sasquatch? The story got stranger when the post disappeared. The Reddit account was deleted, along with all the comments and discussions. I mean, say what you want about the video, but the footage is stunningly clear. It's not like any Sasquatch footage that I've ever seen before. This short video and some images comes from a ski resort in northeast Spain, where a group of skiers saw something strange near the tree line. They got it on video. A tall, white-furred figure walking upright through the snow. One of the skiers posted it online, asking what the hell it could be. The clip spread fast on social media and cryptid forums, and people started talking about it immediately. Some said it looks like genuine footage of a Yeti-type creature. Others say it's just a costume. If that's the case, though, it's a pretty good one. The figure has some serious bulk to it. The resort staff said they checked the area after the footage came out and didn't find anything unusual. No animals or wildlife that fit the description, but one of the skiers insisted he had no idea what the thing was. It wasn't a hoax. What do you all think? Is this one a total fake, or was an unknown ape-like creature actually captured on camera that day? What in the name of all that is holy is this thing? This video was recorded in Vermont, just north of Green Mountain National Forest. Supposedly in the days before the footage was captured, farmers were reporting dead livestock, and several people had reported their pets missing. Coincidence? Maybe, but this also does look like the type of monstrosity that'd snatch up a puppy and eat it. I'm sorry for conjuring that image in your head. The video was shot by two teenagers heading home from a party one night. When they started hearing strange noises from the trees, they decided to start filming. And creeping out of the shadows was this gangly, long-limbed, bulbous-headed freak show. Some say it reminds them of a rake-like creature or skinwalker. Others say it looks more like an alien. It looks to me like it needs to be doused in gasoline and set on fire. what exactly is this fish species? A guy named Rain McKinney was walking across the Pawleys Island Bridge in South Carolina when he noticed something strange in the water. So he grabbed his phone and started recording. A creature. It was swimming in a way that didn't look like any normal fish. It had a weird shape, almost like fins or wings, maybe even something resembling a beak on it. He sent the clip to the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, but even they didn't have a clear answer. One spokesperson admitted, "The people in my office are mostly stumped." The video eventually made its way to marine researchers in Charleston, and even then, nobody could identify it for sure. Some guesses were squid, others guessed maybe a sea slug or sea hare. The problem is those species don't usually show up that far north. They're typically found further south in warmer waters, so for now, this one remains a mystery. What you're looking at here are pretty infamous photos in cryptid/alien sighting circles. And yeah, they kind of look like a dude wrapped in tinfoil, but it's the story attached to the images that makes them more interesting. So on October 17th, 1973, in Falkville, Alabama, a report came in about a possible spaceship landing in a field. Police Chief Jeff Greenaw went out to check things out. He wasn't really one for UFOs, didn't expect to find much. At most, he was gonna find a prankster, but things didn't go the way he thought they would. He insisted, and he ran into something way stranger. What he described wasn't a craft, it was a humanoid figure covered in something that looked like thick aluminum foil, smooth and reflective, almost glowing under the light. The body looked wrong too. There was no clear neck. The head seemed fused to the torso, and there was even what looked like an antenna sticking out. And the way it moved made it even worse. Greenaw said it didn't walk normally. It had these jerky, almost mechanical movements, like something trying to imitate a human but not quite getting it right. And then it suddenly took off, and this was the strangest part. It moved faster than anything he'd ever seen, covering huge distances in seconds. He tried to follow it in his truck, but even at 35 miles per hour, he couldn't keep up. Before it disappeared, he managed to snap the now infamous Polaroid photos. Now, the photos didn't do a lot to convince the skeptics. In fact, they probably made things even worse. Greenaw was laughed off, and within months, he lost his job, his marriage fell apart, and his house burned down. So if he hoaxed this whole thing, it was a bad idea. He did not come out of it any better than he was before. Apparently this footage comes from 2009. It's pretty compelling stuff. It looks like a large wolf walking on its hind legs, and the hind legs look like they belong to a horse. I mean, what the hell? The creature is being referred to as the Black Walker of Smuggler's Notch. Smuggler's Notch being a narrow mountain pass in Vermont, squeezed between Mount Mansfield and Spruce Park. It has an interesting history. It got its name back in the 1800s when smugglers used it to sneak goods between Canada and the US. Nowadays, it's mostly known for hiking and skiing, but there have been stories online about this dogman type creature lurking in the area. Next up is this video captured in Buenos Aires last year. The clip is short and blurry, showing what looks like a street or a garden. You see this weird dark figure crawling on all fours toward the camera, while a few dogs wander around in the background. Its limbs look unusually long, but it's tough to make out because it's dark and the video quality is admittedly not great. Local news says this happened in the town of Saladillo. Residents are reportedly freaked out by whatever it was. Some witnesses have described it as demonic, claiming it moves with inhuman agility, climbing walls and leaping between trees. And a local firefighter who didn't want to be named said, quote, "Something was going on." Another witness added, "It's something big. He doesn't walk on all fours, he walks backwards. He's disjointed, he comes apart, his head is upside down while his body moves in an impossible way." And say what you want about this last video, but we get more than a vague blur in the distance. What do you think, genuine Bigfoot or a costume? I mean, we almost never get Bigfoot footage this clear and close. Most of the time, these clips are shot from way too far away, and the creature is barely recognizable. I know I say that a lot whenever I show a Bigfoot video. I mean, this is part 4. I've already covered Bigfoot in 3, 2, and 1. I think I've done a good job of finding ones that, are better than just some blurry shape obscured by some trees. But as for this one, is it real? It's hard to say for sure, but I don't know. I like it. There's more going on here than a Party City monkey suit, I'll say that. The figure looks solid, it's got some bulk, and the fur isn't just one flat color.